company called Koso. It's a company-based, small design and architecture company based in Tokyo, and we are trying to expand our opportunities and our interests abroad. I am very interested in how design affects our everyday lives, how we can improve actually our lives through better design products and spaces. So I'm pretty happy that today we can try to do this exercise of seeing how by employing the tools of design, we can try to think what is a better public space. Thank you. And perhaps we can do an introduction one by one for whoever is comfortable introducing themselves. Thank you. Who would be first?
Thanks, Svetlin. It was a great introduction. Yes, I would like that, some of you can at least offer your introduction so we get to know each other better in this session. Who wants to go first? I see some cameras on already. We have Tanvi and who else? Who wants to go? Lucy. Yeah, I mean, anyone who wants to start. Yes, please.
Hi, I'm Louise and I'm in Cape Town, and I'm so happy that I came across this group. I'm an artist myself, no design background, but currently I am teaching designers or second language designers. I am coaching them in English. So I need some more background on design and art and just talking about design. And yeah, I'm very happy to be part of this. And Svetlin and Prerna, it's so lovely to meet all of you.
Thank you. Thank you very much for this great introduction.
That's amazing. I have no idea how did you hear about us, by the way. So, but great to have you.
Thank you.
Tanvi, do you want to go ahead?
Yeah, for sure. Hello, everyone. Good afternoon or good evening, whichever part of the world you're signing in from. I am Tanvi, and I am an educator. So I work at the intersection of education, civics, and media entertainment. So of late, I have been working on a project with one of our clients, and they want to teach design thinking to young people so that they are able to use their degrees in solving some of the most socially relevant issues that they see around them. And they don't really use their degree for a very they make the most of what learning opportunities a degree can provide. Since my work is mostly focused on experiential education, and I do understand how to structure courses, but I have no content when it comes to design thinking. And just then I had signed up for Art Circle, and I saw they have a design thinking workshop. I have taken a couple of them, but I thought that the more experience that I build, the better will I be able to develop a strategy. So thank you for hosting something so wonderful. I'm very excited to learn about your experiences, Svetlin, and to the rest of the group as well.
Thank you very much. I hope we can learn from each other. It's a learning process for everybody.
And where are you joining us from, Tanvi?
Currently, I'm based in Bombay.
Okay, nice. Do you teach it in school or something, or?
No, I work for this company called Yuva. We are Yuva. You can find us on Instagram. So I head the programs and campus verticals. So all the engagements that's done in the community, I structure their programs. We are based in 500 campuses across India. So I look at what is the best way to make an important concept interesting for young people.
Well, that's a very, very important issue.
Yes.
So hopefully we can do it together, because I'm having same problems.
All right. Okay, moving ahead, we have Divya. Divya, do you want to go ahead with your intro?
Hi, everyone. I'm Divya, and it's really nice to connect with all of you. So right now I'm studying UX design. And so when I just read about design thinking, it's really going to help me. So looking forward to learn much more better way and understanding how design is going to help me in further ahead. So right now, UX designing. So the course I'm doing, it's almost for 6 months. So already submissions are being happening. I'm doing from UK right now. It's online course and very different, totally lot of softwares and very deep study, I would say. That's it. So looking forward joining you all.
Hopefully today's exercise is going to be helpful to you.
Thank you. Yeah.
Is there anyone else who wants to introduce before we move forward in our workshop?
Hi, I'm Pallavi.
Hi, Pallavi.
I'm joining you from Delhi. I make art jewelry in silver, and I'm a maker of art jewelry. And I address social issues and mental health issues through my work to create awareness about them. So I'm really looking forward to this talk to see how it can actually help me in my work.
Great, great. That's the point of design, to address social and human issues. So let's hope.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
We
Anyone
have
else?
Kalai next. I think Kalai, do you want to go ahead? Hi. Kalai, you need to unmute yourself, please.
Happen always. Okay. I'm from Chennai and I'm into UI UX designing and I'm an entrepreneur. So I have an own experience in designing products and working for a company. And as a design thinking, I new to the Meetup application. So just gone to design thinking. So I'm looking forward to it.
And what kind of startup do you have, Kalai?
It's a service and product based one. So for example, if the company is entering into an online, so if they already have an offline business, doing the business, we will help them to go into the online in a multiple way, like in a CRM and creating website or in a marketing like that. And for that, we are working on the product.
I see. Okay.
To transformation from offline to online business.
Hopefully today's talk is going to be helpful for the online part of user experience too. I don't have any experience there, so maybe you can find an interesting application.
Yes, yes, I'm looking forward to, because we already go into the books and theories. So meeting a lot of people will be given a good eye-opening thoughts.
Yeah, yeah, I think so too. Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, I saw Richard opening his camera. Richard, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, hi. So this is Richard. I'm calling from India.
Hello.
Hello there. I'm a business design consultant. I have worked in multiple industries and sectors for the past 10 years across the globe, and I've been really interested in design thinking for a while, and I do practice it in some of my work. And the main challenge that I've been facing right now is that because of the lockdown, I mean, I'm working here remotely and I couldn't connect with people there in person to understand and get their feedback. So that's been a challenge to me for a while in practicing design thinking. So I'm just looking for, new people, new ways to actually practice design thinking in these unprecedented times, and looking forward to learning more from every one of you.
Yeah, thank you. Actually, it's a learning process for us too here, because design is something that is very particular when it's taught online. Mm-hmm. So maybe we can also learn from trial and error from each other's experience, because definitely, obviously online learning is not going anywhere. So we have to take most advantage of it and make it better. Indeed.
Looking forward to.
And Richard, I didn't get the part. What's your primary profession?
So I'm a business consultant.
Okay.
So I'm now working as a product marketing manager for this company in the US, and I take on jobs for startups to design their business and value propositions.
I see.
Yeah.
Great. Okay, so is there anybody else who wants to introduce? I think this is your last chance, but obviously this is not the last chance really. I mean, we'll be talking a lot. So anyway, we'll get to hear and know each other during the session. If nobody else, I think I'm just going to have Svetlin start the next section of this.
Yeah. Okay, so we can introduce each other later during the process, so don't worry, guys. Okay, so just to give you a very quick introduction of what we're going to be doing today. Firstly, I'm going to just show you a couple of slides regarding the really core ideas of design thinking for those of you who have never encountered the concept, haven't seen our previous workshops, or just want to see some refresher. Nothing serious, maybe like a 5-minute presentation. And then we would go to the gist of our workshop today, which is in the next hour, we would try to tackle an actual practical design thinking issue. Today, this would be public space. And for 30 minutes, we would be brainstorming in groups. And for another 30 minutes, we would be presenting our ideas, our takeaways, and discussing together what the possibility of design thinking for public spaces is. So please feel free to just let your creative selves out, because there is no like wrong way to approach it. It's more an exercise to see what we can do with many diverse points of view, what can a public space through the concepts of design thinking can be. And I will just share my screen for a sec to brief you a bit on the basics, and then we can start with the more interesting parts. Just give me a second. Okay, so as I noted before, I'm an architect and I'm a designer, and my experience has brought me from product design to public space to buildings, all kinds of areas of the design process. And but I'm very particularly interested in how we can have better public spaces, because I really think this is kind of the core thing that makes communities more empowered and more resilient. And if you want to see some of our work and to get to know what we have been doing for the past years, I think Prerna can share in the chat our contact information for those who are curious about where we come from. So, better public spaces with design thinking. First, just briefly, what is design thinking? What is the core of the concept? Well, before we say what design thinking, we need to know what design is, right? We need to define it. And in my opinion, design is the thing that we do to address human needs. Design can be the system, design can be a product, something that is necessary for humans to have better existence. And then design thinking, in my opinion, is how we do this thing. Design thinking is the method, how we approach human needs. But why design thinking? Why particularly this way of thinking? There are many ways of approaching it, right? You can approach it from the standpoint of profit, from the standpoint of efficiency. There are many ways to approach design and to approach human needs. But for me, what's most important is that design thinking states that the human is the center of the process. Design thinking is a human-centered process. The needs of the individual or the community are the most important thing that needs to be addressed. It's not something abstract like money or something else. And so why is it important to put the human in the center of the process is because we interact with design every minute of every day. The moment when you wake up and brush your teeth to the moment that you reach your workplace and interact with the city, you're interacting with products which are designed to do a particular purpose. And this interaction has actual implications. They can vary from great because the products really address your needs, or they could be mildly annoying, or they could be health and life-threatening, depending on what is the situation that you are in. So if you're interacting with design all the time, and if this interaction has actual implication for our well-being, then that means that our quality of life depends on the quality of our design. So then it really matters what is the goal of our design. And in design thinking, that is addressing the needs of the human. And the second important thing about design thinking is that the process really focuses on finding the core issue, the right problem that underlies all the hardships and problems that are related to the human everyday. So the important thing is really to find the right problem. And design thinking does that in 5 main steps. The first one is what is called empathizing with the target. So we are observing and understanding the needs of the user, and we really try to put ourselves in the shoes of the people who are going to use or who are going to experience our designs. The second one is defining the problem, meaning that we are analyzing our observations, we are synthesizing all of this empathy process into like key issues that we think that we need to solve. And when we have that, we use that as a basis to make many, many variations of our ideas. We do a lot of brainstorming to find new solutions to these problems, or we are challenging the existing conventions, the existing ways that we have tried to address those social individual issues in the past. And when we have the different ideas from the brainstorming, then we try to make them real, make them tangible by prototyping them. We start experimenting with shapes, with forms, with arrangements, with systems to see what is the best way to move forward. And finally, we put those prototypes in the real world in order to see what is the feedback from the users themselves. So we can go back to the drawing board, refine our prototypes, put them back into the world, and make this cycle as many times as needed, so we can have the most relevant and helpful product. But of course, because an online workshop doesn't allow us to go through all of the steps in order to really experience design thinking process, today we are going to focus on 2 main things. First is try to define a problem, try to look for an issue which is below the surface, something that is important but is not visible. And the second one is to just freely ideate and brainstorm, just to find interesting ideas, discuss interesting approaches to the same problem. Just like let our imagination just roam free. So then to summarize this whole discussion, we have 2 main keywords. First is human-centered, the human need is most important. And the second one is let's look for the right problems. So then, if we have this basis, what is our assignment today? Well, how can we actually apply those key concepts into an not real world, but like a hypothetical real world scenario? And I came up with a simple but very, how would I say it, very familiar scenario from the place where I lived before, Eastern Europe, to the place where I live now, to the US, to Europe. Everywhere we have the same problem. We have communities which are having not very little or no access to quality public spaces. So our scenario is the following. An abandoned plot of land in a densely populated low-income neighborhood has become an informal garbage dump and a place of criminal activity. It poses a health and safety problem for the local community, which already has to deal with cramped living conditions and lack of access to public space. So what is our task then? Our task is to repurpose the plot as a much needed public space, which would become a safe place for rest, community activities, and child rearing. A place which would empower the local residents, create stronger communities to stronger individual ties, and stronger sense of identity. And also, the imaginary budget is not very big. So we need to be creative how we are approaching this thing. And this is kind of a simple diagram of what our imaginary public space looks like. It is this square in the middle of a very, very densely populated area. Those black squares here, you can imagine those are houses. And this little green guy here is supposed to show us more or less how big one person is. we don't need to burden ourselves with how many meters something is or something like that. The important thing is to have some sense of scale and to imagine what we can do in this empty plot of land. Down to the, maybe this is south in this case, to the south of the plot, there is a road. And so let's think how we can make this thing better. We can sketch on top of it, we can write keywords on top of it. There is no right way to design. The important thing is for us to find new interesting concepts. This map, along with the PDF with all of the keywords, is in a Google Drive that I think Prerna is going to share in the chat, so everybody can have access to it during our discussion. And finally, just a couple of pointers. Sorry, just a couple of pointers. You are free to approach the problem however you prefer. The idea is also not to stick to some predetermined rules, but also to bring to the table your own understanding what a public space is, what is a good public space, what is important. So I have put here 3 main questions that perhaps we should try to address, but feel free to add to that. Firstly, when we are defining the problem, we need to ask, what kind of public space should this be? Is this a park? Is this a stadium? Is this a playground? What is it? Is it a library? I don't know. So this is a thing that we need to, like in a quick, like kind of a lightning round process, try to find an answer to. And the second one is during the ideation or brainstorming stage. I think 2 questions are most important. First is, what is important for a public space to serve its residents? Like, is it the shape of the public space? Is it what kind of services it provides? Is it the access to it? Is it its color? What is it important? Like, we really need to think about that. And then finally, we need to, when you're designing something, we need to think, what is our desired impact? Do we want those people to have a place where to rest? Do we want to have a place where to interact with each other or to work? Or what do you want to achieve? So we can have a tangible goal that we are striving towards. Yeah, that's all from me. So I guess Prerna can share the link. And we are, I think, exactly on time. So in the next 30 minutes, let's break into 2 groups. I think should be okay. And let's try to design. Me and Prerna will be in the breakout rooms together with you. We can discuss, provide comments, just to have some interesting results in the end. Yeah, thank you.
So, Svetlin,
yeah.
And firstly, everybody, I have shared the link with all of you in the chat. So take next 2-3 minutes to actually access this material. So even when we go into the breakout rooms, you have access to this material to look back and refer to. Svetlin, before we break everyone, we break our group, I would suggest, do you want to firstly open a little bit of a conversation among everyone for this problem?
That would be a good idea, yes. We can do that.
Actually, just initial part of defining the problem for a bit, a little bit of brainstorming before we actually get into the particular groups. So that's what I would suggest to do. We can have some people, whoever wants to volunteer, to start, like, you've understood the problem. We can even share the problem on the screen here.
I will share. I will share.
So also keeping in mind that this workshop particularly we have designed not as a lecture session where we'll teach you design thinking, but this is really a session. We just get into some problem. We understand a lot of you do not have any background or a previous learning about how to approach design thinking, but I think this is what we are experimenting, that according to us, this could be sometimes a good way to jump into it. And you can always go back to and refer to the materials to understand design thinking further. Also, to give you a background, we had one session in the past, I think couple of months back, where actually Svetlin had conducted a more of a theoretical session to explain what is design thinking. I will also share the recording of that with you guys later after the session. So that can be done. But just to go back, Svetlin, if we can go back to the problem that you were discussing, you asked us to work on.
1 second. Okay. Yep.
Yes. So just to get the ideas rolling, are there who wants to volunteer to discuss? Like you've looked at this scenario. Do you like to define this problem further? What is your thought about this? Anyone who wants to go?
It's I guess it's an intimidating thing.
Yeah, look like and that's why I was it's like before we break out into groups, I think we need to start the discussion here as a bigger group. So I think it's like this is yeah, sure.
So I'm just looking at the situation here. The scenario is that it is a densely populated low-income area. So I'm just thinking from their point of view, like these people are not getting enough money here, and what would actually help them in this situation, considering their economic situation and how their livelihood would be, because it's a very congested place. It's very densely populated. So are there anything that we could provide them that could give them a sense of space, a sense of freedom, something like that? Because right now it's all very closely related. So I'm thinking just out of my mind, firstly, because it's used as a garbage dump and it's a place of criminal activity, I'm assuming that this place isn't maintained properly and it has a lot of shrubs and a lot of garbages that are put up together. So we could first need to clear that out, and perhaps we could use it as a playground for people to play things, or we could have a park like how it's there in the New York. But when I think about park, I mean, those parks are typically used for high income or middle income society. Would that really be useful for the low income neighborhood? So those are some things that I can't think of right now. But yeah, playground, parks, community center where they can gather around and do activities to say, for instance, dance or programs and things like that. And if they can, as a community, create a space which could also provide them some revenue. I mean, me from business background, I'm thinking in that regard, like some stage where they can use and rent it out to people for, because it's a huge space. They can conduct meetings, they can do some shows and such. So is there a possibility for that? And the community hall could receive some revenue from it, which with which they can further do many other things for their community. So yeah.
I think I would add on to what Richard has spoken for. I think for me, one first important thing is also to understand why these people are using this particular land for garbage dump. Is it just out of convenience, but is that also part of the problem that they don't have other place to dump their garbage? And then actually understanding why they are doing certain things here, I think would help us find a solution for it. Like, for example, if like Richard has given an idea of find a way for them to also make some revenue or generate some money from it, I guess that could be a driving force factor for them to not use this as a garbage dump, even after it has been repurposed. Because I personally have experienced this in small towns in India. I come from a very small city in India, and in fact we have this problem. I see this problem very commonly existing in India in small cities, and it happens that people get it cleaned, people convert it into a maybe garden sometimes, or even a playground. Even then people start putting garbage after a few days or few weeks. So yes, I would also like to first understand why they are doing these things, garbage, criminal activities, those kind of things here particularly, and then see if how can we create certain more lucrative solution for them. So they don't want to put a garbage here. They have to find another solution for that. That's my start on this. Yes.
In fact, I was thinking, adding to what you were saying, Prerna, I was also thinking that part of the community center could also be bringing in art into the community center, whether it is on the walls through graffiti, and get the local people involved in actually doing up those walls rather than hiring artists from outside. That would give them a sense of pride and belonging to that place. I also think an important aspect, part of the community center could also be a library, because if it's a low-income group, then they may not have access to a lot of books. So making it into a lending library by asking for donations of books, and creating a library there might actually be well worth it.
Hi, this is Shweta. Actually, I heard what all, creative ideas you people are giving. But in terms of some exposure with NGOs, one very big problem comes is that we can think the best for them, but actually many a times they don't need it. So it is very important to have a informal survey with people or NGOs who are internally connected with these people and are quite connected with their pulse, so that we can really have a list first that what are the things or facilities which they are looking forward to. Maybe it is a school for their kids, which they really want to, because if they have a school, then these kind of criminal activities would stop, because they will have a place to go and educate themselves, and we can have volunteers, and also a place where they can actually have small shops. So first of all, before even designing, it is very important to evaluate what kind of need that particular area and people residing over there have.
I was thinking the same, that in a community like that, there's always a need of looking and educating people, and maybe there's a need for a little center for preschool children, for moms going out in the morning working, a little community center where that would also happen, and where moms can leave their children, because I know from experience here in Cape Town that this is also a big issue where densely populated areas and low income, it's big problems.
As Sweta said, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, Sweta said there'll be first of all, we need to understand the social structure. So if you are going to build up something there for them, first we need to understand the social structure and the social position. As a scenario, we know it's in a low income area, but we need to first create an awareness. And in the creation in the creation process or in the structuring process, we need to involve them. So there will be an activity, such an activity we need to include there, and we are planning for them, so we need to collect their ideas. So, and we can.
Kalai, I'm sorry. I think I muted you by mistake because I was looking at who some noise was coming. Sorry, extremely sorry. Yeah.
Yeah. So first of all, I understand the situations, and I make them a part of the changes. And if we're building up something, it should be a role model. For example, it's a low income area. If you build something externally and people get inspired from there. So with a small case, we need to plan according to what others said. It should involve, get them income, and it should feel them liberated, and it should inspire them to grow up even bigger. So we need to get in a momentum, we need to create an awareness through the design. So it will be helpful. At the initial stage, I thought this things. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, and I think Svetlin also, I feel that Do we have, I think as part of the problem solving, we should also need to know, do we need some, from the government, some approvals before someone can do something on that plot? Does it belong to someone else or?
Let's imagine the ideal scenario that someone abandoned it and it's free to do whatever we want with it.
Okay.
So we can avoid the bureaucracy for this situation. I think, guys, you all had great input here, and many of you emphasized exactly the most important part of the design thinking process, which is the research and trying to understand the situation there and involving the local community, so we can actually provide them with something that is really suits their needs. Of course, we don't have an actual local community to ask, so I think the best way for this exercise could be twofold. First, perhaps we can, while we are brainstorming in the breakout rooms, we can kind of imagine the community in a way. And the second thing is, perhaps, as many of you rightly said, especially, I'm sorry, I forgot your name, but you are from an NGO background. You are explaining how sometimes they don't need what we make for them, right? Because it's very top-down situation, like the designers come, make some very pretty park and leave, and then this park just becomes a garbage dump again, as Prerna said. We need to understand the situation. So what I think one way to involve the community while the design is still ongoing is to actually make them part of this process. So for instance, if you're building something, we're involving them in the building of it. So maybe if it's a library, our prerequisite is the community is going to be involved in the actual construction process, so they can give maximum input. Or perhaps we can leave parts of our community space undefined, which changes every time depending on the need of the community. So as time passes, in the end, it will solidify into what the community needs. So that's my two comments, actually, before we go into the actual design process.
So I think, Svetlin, I have one quick question to you. Do you think we should break out into two rooms? That would help, or should we do it here itself as a one group?
I'm sorry, how many people? 18 people we are. I think maybe to break it into two design teams, it would be best. It would be easier to discuss between ourselves. Everybody would have a voice, and at the same time, you would have more diverse outcomes in the end.
Sure. All right, so I'm going to do that right now, and I'm just randomly, guys, because I don't have much background about everyone, I'm going to randomly break you guys into two groups today, and let's see what outcome we get. So I think before we break out, the purpose of this workshop is we'll have less than 30 minutes, right? How much time will we have to?
Yeah, perhaps around 20 minutes. Let's put it on 20 minutes.
Yeah, 20 minutes we'll have as two groups to work on this problem and really follow these steps of define problem, ideate, and the steps that are mentioned in this presentation, and come up with a solution on the design board. So one of you guys as a team, you can decide, you can pull a Miro board, any one of you, and share your screen, and you can start ideating there, or even on just a notepad, right? I mean, you could do that. And the idea is you could write, you could draw, it's up to you. You can put sticky notes or whatever you guys like to, how you want to solve this problem. Right, Svetlin, unless you...
Yeah. My only suggestion is if there is a way to put the map of the neighborhood at the back of the screen, so everybody is working on top of it, would be best, because then we will be seeing both the physical space and at the same time our keyword associations and sticky notes and stuff.
You see the image that you have shared with us?
Yes. This one.
Yes. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
It's a JPEG in the Google Drive. So perhaps someone can open it, share the screen, and people can draw with the Zoom tools on top. So everybody can participate.
What particular tool do you suggest, Svetlin, on Zoom for this?
I think there is Annotate. up above the share screen menu, there is annotate where you can actually draw with the mouse. There is an eraser, and it's easier for everybody to participate on the same shared screen.
Say again the name of this tool.
Annotate.
Annotate.
Yes.
I see.
It's above the share screen icon in the top of the screen. Next to it is pause, and then there's a small pencil. It says annotate there. But if there is any better way that you prefer, please feel free to do so.
Exactly. Yeah. Sure. So I'm just going to do this now to break out. So we've started the rooms. Hello, guys.
Okay, so I guess the breakout rooms are almost ready.
Yeah, people are, I think, joining in.
Okay, then I will enter breakout room 1 for now.
So I'm entering 1. I guess you are into 2. So I'm going to 1. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, joining now. Hi, guys. Hi, guys. Are you here? Hello. Hello. Does anybody hear me? Hello.
Hi, Svetlin.
Hey, Prerna. Almost there, huh?
Yeah, I've broken the rooms. We'll close in 30 seconds.
People, I really take it seriously. I am always very pleasantly surprised.
I think, I guess because they're put on the spot, I don't think people expected that they will have to do something serious on Saturday afternoon.
So it's a gun to your head approach.
Yeah, it's what I think.
Yeah. Well, if it gives results, we cannot judge.
Yeah, I mean, if it really helps, then yes. Okay. We still have people joining back.
Hello there.
Hi, Richard. So I think, so we're back in the session. I see a lot. There are people missing, strangely. Maybe people got disconnected and they're rejoining or something. But I think we should start.
Okay.
So I can clearly see few people from room 1, which is Richard, Kalai, and I don't remember others, and from the other group, I can see Tanvi, Howard, Prateek, I think. So, yeah, we have a lot of people. We have enough people from both groups to start presenting. Why don't we go ahead with the first group, which is, I think, Richard and Richard, Louis, Kalai's group. Guys, do you want to share your presentation with everyone, and how did you work around this problem? So,
Richard?
Yeah, sorry, I think I was muted. Can you hear me now? So yeah, so shall I present? Okay, fine. So our idea is that we first identify the problem. The problem is that people are using the space because it's open and no one has ownership of it, and people are exploiting it for illegal activities and using it as a garbage things, which has a lot of repercussions. Firstly, having criminal activities brings about insecurities in the neighborhood, and a lot of people are in a sense of, you know, fear and, you know, not letting their kids be free in the neighborhood, and that has a lot of implications in the childhood and major effect on the community as a whole later. And secondly, because it's been used as a garbage things, there are a lot of propensity for diseases and such to propagate through these spaces. So we needed to ensure that these things aren't happening. To ensure that, we need a sense of ownership for the people, and to clear up the space and how it best could be used for serving and empowering the community, we thought it'd be good to have an open space, majorly where people could see one space to the other in. So, you know, it is not already it's a congested place. People don't want to be congested again with a lot of things. So having a large space here, in this area would provide them a sense of open light and green space for them to see things around. It's like a view for them. So that's the general idea here. So, and we had a lot of ideas from different people. And one thing that we had thought is that this main area, the majority of this area that we have highlighted in green, could be an undefined space, like an auditorium, which is open auditorium, which has a stage and which could be used for community activities like music, yoga, and sports activities and such. This would be low maintenance because all it needs is that clearing of the space and just a stage space where they could use it for multiple activities. So it's low expense, but then it has a lot of implications to the society in many ways. And we also had thought of a building because it's going to be community managed space. We need to have a building in which the community meetings can happen, and this building could also be used for other activities like weekly clinics or monthly clinics, schools for 6 to 68 people. It could be used as a multiple purpose hall where people can use it for many of their needs, and it could also be booked for special activities and such, and for meetings and things. And the other thing is that we also thought of putting up a fence so people don't use it, or I mean, they do understand that this is a space which is going to be used for their benefit. A normal fence, and around that we also have a space like sort of a road where people could do walking or cycling, which would be surrounded by green plants and such to give them a sense of serenity amidst the chaos that is around the neighborhood. So people could come relax it by walking around because the road is at the southern end of the building. I think they could get in and here and do a walk around and we can have benches around and people can just rest and see the recreational activities that are happening. And we could also have some other things like grown space. I mean, like vegetable garden was one of the idea that was circulated. We could have garden space. We have enough space to do that, and people could use that for that as well. And one other thing is that we have enough space to do solar farming, which could also add electricity and give them a sense of that they are doing good for the community and the earth as a whole. So we could have solar farms or solar panels which powers the community hall and does provide community some amount of power to them. And yeah, again, these are the ideas about the space, but then practical implementation purposes, there are challenges that we face on implementing it because people have been adopted or acclimatized to using the space for dumping garbage. We need to find some other ways where they could do that instead. So some incentive schemes for doing recycling and utilizing the money that we have from the community center to create garbage cans and other activities to promote alternative means for doing things that they haven't been doing. So yeah, I think I summed up everything. Is there anything left, Kalai?
I was just thinking that the plot should also have wheelchair access, so it's really inclusive for everyone. So there should be a ramp.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much, guys. A very concise 5-minute explanation, exactly within our time limit. Just let me provide a couple of comments before we move to the next presentation. I think it was a great approach to think about the open space as a generator for community activities and becoming kind of a place to educate the community through activity, through recycling, through creating ownership of involving the community in this, for instance, in gardening, giving them this empty, undefined space where they can do their own activities so they can feel that this is their own space, that they can do anything that they want with. And with the addition of the community center, we have also a bit more like formalized community space where more formal community activities can happen, which are more structured for more long-term change. So I like this flexibility And something that I really liked about the design too is that you mentioned serenity in the chaos. And I think this is very, very important for a good functioning community, to have a place to be able to collect your thoughts beyond noise, beyond congestion, because many of our cities are suffering from that. Thank you. And let's see what group 2 has to show us.
Ravi's hand raised. Ravi.
Oh no, I haven't raised it. It's a clap. Thanks.
Yeah, okay, man.
Anyone wants to present?
I think you can go forward.
Okay, great. So team 1, I think your presentation was very, very, very insightful. It got me also thinking about how, I mean, there were many aspects that were brought up in the group but were not discussed as much. But I think that your ideas on repurposing the empty space were very interesting. I think when we looked at the problem statement, three of the main problems that we could identify is the waste, the garbage, which is over there. And I think a lot of the waste can actually be used for multiple purposes, which was not highlighted, or the community was not very aware or educated about it. That was one. Second was the criminal activity that is taking place in these areas. And what is it that we could do to kind of help curb that as well, because otherwise, no matter what we build, that the place would still be a little bit of a menace. And the third is that since it's a low income community, they have very little access to public spaces like parks and garden and so on and so forth. So how is it that we can integrate these three components into while repurposing the space? And that's the idea that we had taken in. I think we don't have a structural plan as the previous group did in terms of where what would be located. But overall, generalistically, our idea is that there will be green patches, which is a garden for younger people, for children as well as older people, old age grandparents and all, to come, and the activities can be very self-driven over there. It would also attract a lot of community members to spend their time in the evening in the park. And since there will be it will attract a lot of people, there'll be more eyes on the place, which makes it safe also for people. Anywhere where children are there, there are more eyes on the place. So that takes care of the criminal activity problem. The second part that we thought of is a community center, and we have a plethora of activities that we can conduct over there, right from if we get government funding, then to align all the programs that we are doing them in with the SDG goals, or all the walls of the community center would have mural art. And throughout the garden also, we were thinking of having various art installations that would help people be attracted to the place. And eventually, if it is a very sustainable model, then the garden could also have an entry fee, which could tie in back into the community as some kind of remuneration. Then we also thought of there might be a community leader over there who has been very inspirational, very instrumental in bringing all these things together. So to restore the value of the inspiration behind building this community, we could have their idol and quotes of whatever this person has said into the space as well. We also there's a lot of waste management that we spoke about, and the two ideas that we've come forward with it have been, one is that a part of the garden only has biocompost, where you use the wet waste and we recycle it and use it as compost for the garden. And the other part is that wherever there's dry and unrecyclable waste, we repurpose that into we empower the members of the community to actually start making jewelry or artifacts with it and sell it. That would also be helpful. One of the while our plans have been very ambitious, we've also tried to be quite realistic about it, and we realized that we need to have a team that works actively in the community, that focuses on their education, on helping facilitating that behavioral shift that we need, and maintenance and regular monitoring and evaluation of the impact and the progress that the community is being making. Am I missing out on anything? Then please feel free to add on to this, guys.
Thanks, Tanvi. You covered almost everything and aligned it with whatever we discussed. Thanks so much.
Thank you very much, guys. Again, perfect timing. I think very interesting approach too. And a couple of things that really kind of got my attention was first that very interesting involving children in creating a different type of atmosphere, which is safe and like violence free. At the same time, it's not just like a measure to deter any crime, but actually it creates a space for children to enjoy and to have childhood in places where very often this is not possible. Another thing that really I think was an important point was the greenery part, because you said that there is a problem of access to quality public spaces or to any public spaces in such communities. And I think that this is really undervalued because has been proven scientifically that access to greenery actually improves our ability to learn, our ability to function more efficiently in our lives. And finally, something very interesting also that was that kind of got my attention was using art. Art is a aesthetic tool to make the place more attractive and more pleasant for the people. So that was very interesting, and I think also another very undervalued aspect of public spaces, that beauty is important for communities to actually function well and efficiently. That is all from me, and thanks to both teams for the dedication for in this very, very short period of time. It was really, really interesting discussion. And just before I give to Prerna the floor, just one last comment. I noticed something in today's workshop. Many people said we cannot start designing before we ask the people. And I think that is really, really important. That is the most important situation. And also, but what do we do when the people are not here, right? And we cannot ask them, but we want to start a conversation with them. So in my experience, very, very small experience working with, like I'm doing research with communities and looking, what is their initiative? I worked for my master's thesis with an aging community in Japan, and I went there and I was like, I'm gonna ask them what they want, and then we're gonna provide it, and it's gonna be great. And then I went there and then I asked them, and they're like, we don't know what we want. It's just whatever. Like, if you give us something, maybe we can talk. So then when I was talking with the two groups, and I noticed many people are very concerned about the community's perspective, it came to my mind that sometimes we need to propose something, anything to them, so they can start the conversation. And most often they will just say that they hate it. But that is okay. To start the design thinking process, you need to start from somewhere. And when you know what you don't want, it's very much easier for everybody, plus the community and design team, to decide what they want. So yeah, that was something that I realized while talking to you guys. So thank you very much. And I leave it to Prerna to finish our conversation.
Thank you, Svetlin. This was great. And generally, I think I'm really, I mean, it's really nice to see everybody. I think we put you guys on spot a little bit here today because Saturday afternoon, I'm sure you guys didn't want to get into the reading exercise. But, seeing that kind of, participation from everyone was really nice. I hope you guys enjoyed the session, and more than that, you did take away something from here, from the session as learning. To include in your future work. We'll continue doing more such sessions with Svetlin and with other people as well. So, I've shared few details in the chat. You can, there are links about Svetlin's organization where he works, and also his Instagram, his LinkedIn, that you can connect with him. Besides also our detail of Art Circle, you can follow us on Instagram. There's a chat group, WhatsApp group that we've created. You could join that as well, where we keep sharing about every future workshops. One last thing, I would also ask you guys that, I'll reach out to you people and ask for a small feedback about this format of this workshop. So please do share the feedback so we get to know if this kind of workshop really help you or not. And so we design our future workshops accordingly. That would be last. I mean, I would have loved to discuss if this format works for you in the session, but the time doesn't allow us anymore. And I don't want to take away more time from you on the weekend. So it's already great that you guys actually took out time for some learning during your weekend.
Yeah, but do let us know somehow, because we're really interested how we can change it to become better.
Yeah, you can also, I think a lot of you guys are also connected with us, with me on Instagram, on WhatsApp. So you can also, feel free to message me your thoughts on this workshop. How did it work for you? So that'll be great. And so thank you, everyone.
Okay, thank you very much.
And thank you, Svetlin, especially for you for taking out time for us, offering us this free workshop. I know your time is also important, and you're doing so many things with the
you shouldn't worry. It was a pleasure, and I think that's the only way for us to kind of have a bit better understanding of design, just to discuss and find new perspectives. So thank you.
Perfect. All right. Thank you, everyone. You all have a great day.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Bye.
Hi, Svetlin.
Okay.
Hi.